In an absolute shocker, the Boston Red Sox have traded away their former third baseman turned designated hitter Raphael Devers to the San Francisco Giants for a package of major league players and a couple of prospects. Giants are going to be eating the entirety of the Devers contract to boot. We'll get into that and much more ahead next on MLB Hot Stove Daily. And welcome back into the MLB Hot Stove Daily here at the Upside Sports Network. My name is Michael. Really appreciate you guys joining us late on a Sunday evening. Sunday Night Baseball already going underway. And the starting pitcher tonight for the San Francisco Giants, Kyle Harrison, was scratched from his start after he was included in the trade for Raphael Devers. Also going the other way are Jordan Hicks and a couple of prospects as well. For Boston, this ends the long winding tale of Raphael Devers and whether he will play third base, first base, designated hitter. Will he be happy? Will they have to figure out something else long term? This puts an end to all of that speculation. It also frees up tons of money for them to be able to go out there and spend. The question in previous off seasons and at trade deadlines past has been, will they actually use the money that they save and spend it? We have yet to see them really go out there and extend themselves on some long-term contracts outside of the Raphael Devers one. Does not speak well to them immediately turning around and trading that same deal that they just signed a couple of off seasons ago. But that's kind of your top storyline right now across Major League Baseball. This could probably be one of the best hitters that has moved before the MLB trade deadline. So for the Giants to go out there and get this deal done in mid-June speaks volumes for the dearth of talent that there's out there offensively. They're one of a few teams that could have taken on this deal. We expected the Giants to add another big bat in the offseason. We saw how poorly the Willy Adames signing has really turned out to be so far. I do think it'll turn around. I think he's just got to adjust to playing in that type of a ballpark. But for Raphael Devers, he gives them some big impact on the left-hand side of the plate, something they have not really had since they had Barry Bonds. We talked about that in the offseason, about how good of a signing Willy Adames was going to be for them. Hasn't worked out that way, but they're not going to rest on their laurels. They're off to a great start this season, 41-30 to begin the year, and we'll see where this ultimately takes them. But appreciate you guys joining us. Welcome in, everybody. Rafe, Mark, JG, John, Master of Inman, Heel, Brandon, welcome back to every one of you guys. I know it's been quite a while since we've talked. A lot of changes have happened here, both with me, with the Upside channel, with YouTube itself, the way they're actually having these things change. So we'll have to kind of roll with the punches as we kind of get back into the rhythm of getting back into these daily videos. So we'll get into some of the stuff that's going on behind the scenes later on in the video, but I want to start with the Raphael Devers conversation. JG, Red Sox did the right thing. I couldn't agree with you more. I think they need to get the head case, in air quotes, because I'm not sure how big of a head case he was necessarily in the clubhouse. I just know that the more this situation would have drug on, the more and more of a detractor it would have been for this team long term. Not just for this season, but we're talking about the long-term future of a ton of young players, up-and-coming players for this team. A team that was supposed to, be looking for a trade in the outfield, possibly a Jarren Duran, maybe an Abreu trade would have been coming to make room in that outfield for Roman Anthony. Now I'm not sure they ultimately go that route. Now there still is going to be an outfield clutter back there. They're probably going to still have to move one of those guys. The other alternative, of course, is moving one of those guys over to first base. They do have a issue there. Bregman is out at the moment. It sounds like he's going to be back eventually. He sounds like the at least short-term answer for the remainder of this season at third base. And now with the money coming off the books here, with how good Bregman has looked in that uniform, I would not be surprised to see them come to a long-term deal, a long-term extension rather quickly here. He may not even reach free agency, but we shall have to see. Rafe, how does this work for Chapman and Devers? Let's see. Let's go ahead and get into the trade first. Let me get that pulled up for you guys on the screen. And there it is. Okay. So, MLB trade rumors. We'll go ahead and look at the trade itself here. Devers goes to the Giants in exchange for Hicks and Harrison. The couple of prospects that they're getting are an outfield first base prospect in James Tibbs. We'll get into some of the prospect, what their outlook looks like going forward for him, and Jose Bayo, a right-handed pitching prospect there. As far as Chapman goes, this is a year where the Boston Red Sox were expected to contend. Do I think that this trade handicaps them from being able to do so? No, I don't. I think their offense honestly has enough pieces to be able to keep this thing going. With the bolstering of that rotation and possibly to that bullpen with Jordan Hicks coming in, whether they keep him in the rotation or if they move him to that bullpen, wherever they decide to deploy him, they now have a plethora of arms to go to out there in Boston to solve some of their many issues that they've had so far this year. They were one of my teams that was going to be there towards the very end of the year, possibly in the ALCS anyway. I thought they were going to get that far along with Texas. Still holding out hope for both of those teams. Texas certainly looks like they have the great pitching. The offense, let's just say it's more than disappointing so far, and I was expecting this kind of a move, honestly, the Raphael Devers level type of a move for them to shake things up. One of my favorite players on the Rangers, Josh Young, has really not lived up to expectation, and nobody is really talking about it. His swing is now a jackknife every time he swings the bat. The surprising thing is, as tough as he's had it so far, so many Rangers have been far worse. I just think that his issues right now are a lot more detrimental to his long-term future with the ball club, whereas a lot of the other pieces that are on this roster, Simeon, Seager, they're there to stay. They ain't going anywhere, and it sounds like some of those pieces are turning around. A piece like Raphael Devers, I thought would have been a great move for them to solve their issues at third base, give them another power bat that they were looking for this offseason when they signed a Jock Peterson. That move obviously has not worked out. They're going to have some money coming off the books next year. The question was going to be how much money were they going to be able to save against this year's luxury tax calculations, because that's really where the bugaboo was for them, is they weren't going to be able to take on some long-term money or money this year unless they sent out money as well. They have some great pitching that they could possibly trade at the deadline. They are a little bit thin right now because Eovaldi's on the shelf. Molly just went on the 15-day IL. But a move like Raphael Devers, I thought could have been the out-of-nowhere move that we could have seen. He was one of the names that was going through my head. Another one was Nolan Arenado, but we've seen how well the Cardinals have gotten off to so far this year, and I'm still not ruling out the possibility of an Arenado trade as well. But for the trade here, for the Red Sox getting rid of the quote-unquote problem in Raphael Devers, giving yourself some depth, replenishing some of your farm depth as well after the trade for Crochet, and now you've freed up so much money that you can go ahead and try to re-sign an Alex Bregman. Not only can you try to go after an Alex Bregman type and keep him in-house, you might be able to go out there and try to sign somebody else this offseason to solve an issue at first base. There's going to be no shortage of first basemen on the market next offseason, and I would not be surprised to see the Boston Red Sox dip their toe in those waters. But as far as Chapman, what does this mean for them? Just like I was saying a few minutes ago, I just think this is a year where the Red Sox expected to contend, and we'll have to see if they continue to try to push the pedal to the metal here. I do think they're going to try to contend this year. I think that this move, while it's not necessarily a move all the way leaps and bounds forward where you're trading 4 minor leaguers for a major leaguer in return, you're trading quite possibly your best hitter in your lineup right now, Raphael Devers. While you still have plenty of great offensive weapons in theory around him, before the trade, if you move out Raphael Devers, you're still bringing in some good major league talent coming back, and I expect them to try to continue to try to win this year. As far as what it means for Aroldis Chapman, I think that means they're going to hold on to him. I still think they could mix up that outfield a little bit, but with the trade here of Raphael Devers, I'm not sure how urgent that trade is going to be. I think that could be a trade that they revisit in the offseason now that Devers is off of their books. Let's see here. Welcome in, Masterman Man. Garrett Cole, happier than anyone right now that Devers got traded. You aren't far off there, my friend. I think the number one guy who's happiest that Devers got traded, Raphael Devers. I'm sure he wanted to be a lifelong Red Sox. I'm sure that's how he began his career with the Boston Red Sox. I'm sure going into the offseason, that's where he wanted to end his career, in Boston. After they made the decision that they were going to try to pursue, they hadn't signed Alex Bregman yet, that they were going to pursue a free agent starting third baseman like an Alex Bregman, Devers immediately bristled at the idea. And I think that was the first inclination that we all had that maybe, just maybe, things could be upset there, upsetting the apple cart, rocking the boat, whatever you want to be, or whatever you want to call it here. And I just think it just got a little too choppy this season for Raphael Devers, Alex Cora, management there in Boston, to where something had to be done. And instead of waiting, towards the end of the offseason, towards the winter meetings and see if they could get something done, get teams to try to compete for him, those kinds of things, this is a year they wanted to compete, and they didn't want to have this quote-unquote issue in their locker room, in their clubhouse, with such good young talent coming. You have Mayer in there. You've got Campbell in there. You're trying to bring in Roman Anthony. You have several good young stars on this team. They're very impressionable to a guy that's supposed to be the face of your franchise, and he's fighting with the brass. He's fighting with your manager day in and day out, and not only about his spot in the lineup, but about whether or not he should get his old spot back as well and displace a new signing that's probably better than him and most assuredly proven to be better than him defensively as well. So good on them for at least getting this issue taken care of and not dawdling on the position and moving forward on this issue. Brendan Lee, hi, Mookie Betts 2.0. I hope so if you're a Giants fan. I do think he'll perform very well. Do I think he's Barry Bonds 2.0? Probably not. I don't think we'll ever see another Barry Bonds in the game the way we've seen him before, the way we saw him have that level of an impact. I think the closest that we see right now is Aaron Judge, and while Aaron Judge is all world right now, and he's close, I will give him that to Barry Bonds. He's still not the way Barry impacted the game out there in San Francisco, the way Judge impacts it in New York. But for me, I still think it's a great signing or trade for them anyway. They had to get the move done. They needed more offense there to kind of support that pitching staff. The question is now, do they have enough depth in that rotation? Do they have enough depth in that bullpen? I have my doubts about whether the Giants are going to be able to continue to win at this rate going into the last time we were live with you guys towards the end of April. And they've done a nice job holding on there. They're still in the wild card hunt. Right now they're actually in a wild card position. I just worry about them in a high-priced pitching market right now. The dearth of talent offensively, I think that they're going to have, or now that they've got their issues solved offensively, you hope, with Raphael Devers, while there are arms out there for them to go after, I'm not sure that they necessarily have the wherewithal to go out there and try to make that move via trade, or if this is a kind of a building year for them, where they, yes, traded some pieces here to acquire Raphael Devers, but they're not necessarily going all in, even with the struggles that the Dodgers have had and others around Major League Baseball. While there is certainly an opportunity for teams to jump in there and contend, I'm just not sure how far the Giants really want to push the envelope this year. Of course, you want to win whenever you have a chance, absolutely, but I'm not sure how committed they are to World Series or bust this year, as opposed to, say, next year and the year after. We'll see how they decide to attack the rest of this trade deadline season, but something to keep an eye on out there in the Bay Area. Glad to see me back. Couldn't agree more. I mean, it's been a long month and a half, 2 months now almost, since I think it's been about a month and a half since we were live. I think it was the end of April the last time we were. I had a couple of health scares. Ended up knocking me on my back for a little bit, but I am good to go, fit as a fiddle, and career ultimately worked out. Ended up not having to change one of the jobs I was doing, and still pursuing other opportunities as well. But it's good to be back with you guys and talking baseball once again. I know there are several Dallas Mavericks fans who have been messaging me, trying to get me to do a live about the Cooper Flagg situation. And trust me, I would have loved to have done it when we had the lottery done, but I still wasn't all the way back yet. But feeling good now, and we'll be back to our normal schedule that we had throughout the entirety of the offseason. We'll be back to our lives. We're going to try to get back, kind of pace ourselves here. We'll go, every day around 9-ish, maybe a little bit earlier, and kind of get into the flow of that and see how that goes, and kind of build up from there. But it's good to be back with you guys. Everyday Mets, welcome back. Appreciate you joining us here. Young was our best player for a minute now. He's our weak link, but I think he gets it together. I agree. I think that he's going to get it eventually. I just don't think I don't think he has the ability to be an aircraft carrier type player anymore. Dan O'Dowd on MLB Network all the time talks about an aircraft carrier type of a player. Josh Young, when he was drafted, even when he came up to the big leagues, was thought to be that type of a player. Unfortunately for him, injuries, freak injuries, not just an injury-prone player, but really fluke injuries, getting hit by a pitch off the hand, breaking his hand, being out for 3 months, all kinds of weird, getting hit in the face, all those kinds of issues have kind of cropped up for Josh Young to kind of sap his abilities. And while I don't necessarily think that they're injury-related as to why he can't get back to that level, I just think it's really increased his bad habits at the plate and taking him from a swing like Evan Carter, where it was a lot more level going through the zone with still having a nice launch angle off of it. That swing is gone. I mean, if I'm Brett Boone, I just show tape to him right now and I say, hey, dude, here's your first season in a Texas Rangers uniform. Here's your, when you were in college, when we drafted you as a first-round pick. What do you think the difference is in the swing here? College, a lot more level. You get to the pro level, the launch angle started to improve, and he was still a very good hitter. Now you look at his tape, and it's a complete golf swing every single time, and now he's trying to go the other way with it. He just looks all kind of messed up. I'm hoping they do something like they did with Adolis Garcia to kind of solve those issues. All right, let me try to catch up with a few of these comments here. You think Young's weak? Let's not talk about our second baseman. Simeon's playing very well lately. I do think he's solved the problem, the issues that he was having. If you actually look at his peripheral numbers, same thing with Corey Seager. Both of those guys are, expected, or ex-Woba anyway, is in the tops of their positions. The problem has been their BABIP is really, really low. So expect a positive regression here throughout the rest of the season for them. Do I think they'll be top 10 in the league offensively by the end of the year? No. But I do think we'll see some regression to the mean here. And I don't think that their skills have dwindled at all. It's just a matter of them making small tweaks. For instance, Seager's still hitting the ball as hard as ever. It's just he's hitting into more outs than ever. I see that he's got a couple more holes in his swing than he ever has before. To me, that's more of an issue with him trying to force the issue, even though he's making good, solid contact. I think he's pressing a little too hard here, chasing the pitches down in the zone, chasing the pitches a little further outside. Same thing for Adolis Garcia. He gets beat up high, and then if that pitch he lays off, then he'll throw a slider to the out or just off the plate or a foot off, and then Adolis chases that pitch. Adolis has gotten better at that. Would like to see him get even better than that, though, to solve that issue. But for Josh Young, he can't catch up to the fastball. He's late on every single one of those. Curveballs he's trying to protect against, and it's not like he's trying to attack the ball. It's more like he's playing defense with his swing right now and trying to do damage, over the fence every single time. And somebody just needs to grab him and say, hey, dude, look, you're a great offensive player. Get back to the things that made you successful as a rookie in college. That's the player we want to see on the field. And I just think the player that he can be now is still a productive player. Consistent, yes. But I don't think we have superstar written on Josh Young anymore at all. Banana, welcome in. How big of a deal is this, and does it make the Giants a legit contender for the playoffs? Let's see. For me, I still think the Giants are behind the Dodgers in their own division, even with the injury issues that are already present. I just think the Dodgers still, even with their injuries, have too much talent. They're going to be just fine. In a playoff series right now, if I had to pick a team, I'm picking the Dodgers to roll the Giants. I just think the depth is now gone to a certain extent on the pitching side for the Giants. That was their semi-strength, I guess you could say. For me at least, was the depth that they could go to there. That depth is now gone. They're going to have to rebuild that to some degree. Offense was going to be their issue. We knew that going into the year that they didn't do enough in the offseason, but this was going to be a 2-year plan to really get the big pieces in there. They decided, we're going to fast forward this thing and try to get a big-time player here in Raphael Devers. And while I think the trade is going to ultimately work out for them in the long run, I just wonder about them being a World Series contender this year. Now, a contender for the postseason, with the struggles Atlanta has had and several other teams in the National League, I think there's a very good case that the Giants could finish as the second wildcard team this year, especially with the addition of Raphael Devers. I do think they'll try to address the rotation, some of their depth issues in that pitching staff as we get close to the deadline. Might not be any real impact there, but they might bring in a depth arm or two. They could always go to the well of free agency, if maybe pick somebody off of waivers to solve some of the depth issues. Of course, those are opportunities for them to strike as well. But I just think Devers is probably the biggest acquisition anybody's going to make here at the deadline. And I think it does make them a legitimate contender for a wild card position. Do I think they do any damage in the postseason? They might get past a round, maybe two, but I don't think they're getting to the World Series. Let's see. You meant that Mookie Betts trade 2.0 for the Red Sox. Honestly, I don't think it's going to be that bad for them. I like the depth that they're getting here on the pitching side here. Offense is going to be their issue if some of these prospects don't pan out in the next couple of years. Devers was signed long-term. His bat was proven in that lineup, and I think he's covered up a lot of the youth and inexperience in that lineup from time to time, especially with Bregman being on the shelf. Now, if they're able to weather the storm offensively, which I do expect them to do that, the Red Sox should be just fine. If this thing goes horribly, say the offense just craters, the rookies don't look as good, they hit the rookie wall, the pitching staff starts to back up a little bit, injuries pick up there, and they go on a big time losing streak right before the deadline. Could I see them selling? Probably not. I think they're a team that's already committed to trying to winning this year. Maybe not necessarily the World Series, but I do think they want to get back to a postseason and winning a series or two with their sights set a little bit higher, of course, on the World Series prize. Might just be a little bit premature, though, with this young team that they have right now. With that being said, they've got some good performers there, postseason performers, Walker Buehler, Alex Bregman, Aroldis Chapman, among others, to kind of help steady the hand of these younger players as they go into their first postseason of their careers. But I do think it's a good trade here for both sides, just for different reasons. For the Red Sox, it's more about the future outlook of their pitching staff, of what their depth options look like there, and solving some of the logjam that they have on the offensive side of the plate, or on the defensive alignment and on the offensive side, trying to get people in the lineup every day. You are subtracting your best hitter right now that's healthy in the lineup. That's going to suck for pretty much every team out there, losing their best hitter. But with the issues in the clubhouse, issues with Alex Cora, issues with the front office, those are bigger, more foundational issues than just just in the lineup every single day. Would you have loved to have been able to work out those issues? Sure, but it doesn't look like there was going to be any resolution here that have worked to the satisfaction, or to both sides working out as well. So, say Devers got his way and ultimately got to play third base. Well, that means that the third base plan went up in smoke for them. Bregman's hurt, offense didn't work out. Now you've soured things with your best player. Player gets all the power here, shows how he stood up to management. Now that's a problem for your younger players, because they're going to try to do the same thing if they have an issue with the team or the manager, or if they're not liking how their playing time is, or whatever the case may be. That would have been one issue that they're kind of heading off here. Things had gone poorly for them down the road. For the Giants, if they hadn't made this type of a move here, they were still going to need to try to address the offense in the offseason, and they still could have done so. I still don't necessarily buy this team as a World Series contender, but heck, maybe they're the team that decides to go out there and get a Chris Sale at the deadline. Maybe they're the team that tries to add another bat, a Marcell Ozuna, if the Braves really to try to throw the towel in at the end of the year. All right, try to catch up on a few of these comments here. Campbell and Mayer make this trade worth it for the Red Sox, in my opinion. I'll agree that it's the young players, not just Campbell and Mayer. It's Anthony. It's all the young talent that they have coming. And don't forget that Alex Bregman is a big portion of this story here that we're not really talking about. No Alex Bregman, this trade probably doesn't get made. All right, let's see here. Glad you're healthy. Thank you, Masterman, man. Appreciate that. Looking at the Red Sox team, if they play their cards right, we could be looking at another future dynasty for the Red Sox. Very possible. I'm just not sure that the pitching side is all the way solved. I think this trade does solve quite a bit of the depth issues that they have. But I want to see their rotation really start to pick it up here. I was expecting more out of this team coming out of the gate. They've kind of hemmed and hawed their way to their, to where they are in the standings. We'll pull those up here in just a moment. But I think they could have done a little bit more here to start the year. And I think their young talent offensively is going to be great. The question is, dynasty, that requires both offense, pitching, defense, everything to really be working well. And I think the offense is going to come around. Pitching, I do have my questions about. Defense, with Devers gone, I think their defensive issues should be better as well. Let's see here. Heel, do you really trust them to play their cards correctly? Oh, good point there, Brandon. They Omega fumbled the last big three they had. I'd put my money on them doing the same thing with this big three that is unproven. Well, I'll put it this way. They have young talent, yes, but they have some good, proven guys that have done successful things at the major league level. Now, are they World Series tested, postseason, been through the wars, those kinds of things? No, they're still young. But they've done everything that they can do up to this point to tell you that they're going to be productive players. And until proven otherwise, they're still going to have great value, even if this thing doesn't work out. Say in the offseason, Campbell, still looks like a pretty good player, but doesn't necessarily live up to what you're expecting him to go into this year and do. With the cost certainty that you have now with the extension that he signed, you could still trade him and get a pretty penny back in return. So it's not necessarily that they've got all their eggs in one basket here. I still think they have a multitude of opportunities to succeed there in Boston. And while dynasty is a word that's thrown around a lot by pretty much everybody in the news media out there, in sports news media, I think we're a little bit early to say anybody's a dynasty with the turnover that we've had of these championship teams for years now. It's been a very long time since we've had a repeat champion, a repeat champion with the Dodgers. Obviously, looking like the exception here that they could have a real dynasty on our hands. But before that, it's been a long, long time since the Dodgers or Yankees or any team really had any success. Back-to-back years, winning the World Series, those kinds of things. So, parity is still a thing in Major League Baseball, and while dynasties are always a great thing for the industry, look at the way the Golden State Warriors impacted business in the NBA, Patriots in the NFL, Lakers, Heat, in years past in the NBA. All of those had big impacts on the sport. It's always better when you have a villain to root against. That's what brings eyeballs to the league. And I think the league would love to see the Dodgers get to that point once again. But injuries have really kind of held them back so far to begin the year. While you're gone, there's nobody to keep me realistic about my Cubbies. I hear you. Your Cubs look pretty dang good. I think the offensive issues a lot of teams have faced early in the year, the Cubs have not had that worry. And while there is a dearth of offensive talent that's expected to be available at the deadline, there's going to be a number of pitchers that are going to be out there if the Cubs decide to really push their chips to the center this trade deadline. Now, of course, they traded for Kyle Tucker. They knew going into the season he was going to be on an expiring deal and was going to test free agency. I think this is kind of a Kawhi Leonard type of year here for Kyle Tucker. I do think there's an outside chance he re-signs and stays there in Chicago. I would not rule that out at all. It looks like he's having a good time there to begin his career there in Chicago. But with that being said, Justin Steele going down, other injury issues, struggles going into the year that we saw coming. I think they're going to have to solve some of those issues before I consider them a true World Series contender. But the offense is certainly not going to be the issue there for your Cubs. Rafe Garcia needs to take all of the All-Star break with Boone and get his vision and discipline under control. I wouldn't necessarily say that. If you've been looking at the numbers for Adolis Garcia before the mental break that he had and after, he's hitting over 300, at least going into baseball or going into the game today. His OPS is over 800. His strikeout rate had dropped by 7%. That's among the best numbers we've ever seen from Adolis Garcia. He's taking a lot more line-to-line approach. Now, the home run numbers haven't necessarily been there for him yet. He's only hit, I believe, one home run so far. His clutch gene is really still the most prevalent thing that he brings to this Texas Rangers ball club. 2 walk-off hits so far this season for him. That's big for the Rangers club right now. And while there are other guys in the lineup struggling, absolutely. Could we expect a little bit more here from Garcia in the way of power? Absolutely. Avoiding certain strikeouts, avoiding those holes in his swing, absolutely. But I'd say that the mental break that he had really helped solve the issues for him. The bigger issue for the Rangers is going to be what they're going to do about Adolis long-term financially, Josh Young long-term and this year financially, Jonah Heim behind the plate this year and long-term. Honestly, I would be looking to try to trade Jonah Heim to a catching needy team with a team looking to try to catch on or try to recapture what Jonah Heim brought in 2023 that led him to start the American League for the American League in the All-Star game. I think there's several teams out there that still see that type of player in Jonah Heim. I think Higashioka has really solved some of the issues that he had offensively to begin the year. Got off to a slow start just like he did last year in San Diego. And I do expect Higashioka to ultimately take at least the lion's share of the catching time going forward with Jonah Heim's offensive struggles. I think Jonah Heim's like 5 for his last 36, somewhere in there. And while we've seen struggles like this from Jonah Heim, last year he was one of the worst offensive players in the game, and these numbers over the last month have started to look like that player once again. He came into the year looking a lot better, line drive hitter, getting the ball up in the air. Jonah Heim said in the spring training that anytime he was hitting the ball on the ground was a great indicator of whether or not he was, staying in the zone, whether his swing was going well, if he was seeing the ball well, those kinds of things. And he's starting to pound the ball into the dirt a lot more, striking out a lot more. Launch angle is pretty much gone for him over the last month, basically. He did hit a nice home run out there in Tampa Bay, but outside of that, Jonah Heim's been pretty much a no-show for the past month or so. Would like to see them try to upgrade that position if they can, even if it's just for somebody who hits for a nice average or gets on base via the walk or whatever the case may be. Would you love to have a all-star level Jonah Heim? Absolutely. But I'm not sure that player is still in there for Jonah Heim. He's taken a lot of wear and tear the last couple of years in the big leagues, and sometimes these catchers just fall off a cliff out of nowhere. We saw it with Joe Mauer out there in Minnesota. We saw it to a certain extent with Buster Posey out there in San Francisco. Yadier Molina was kind of the ageless wonder, but to a certain extent his offense, even to a degree, fell off as well. But Jonah Heim, I don't necessarily view him in that level of player either. And he's done a great job so far for the Rangers ever since he's been up on the big league club. But I think the writing is on the wall for him to be one of the guys on the way out as well. All right, let's try to catch up on some of this Devers talk here. It's been too long, so I got to ask, who do we end up getting at the trade deadline from the pitching staff? I don't think you're really going to trade too much from the pitching staff. I think there's an outside chance that they trade Tyler Mahle if the offense craters once again. The offense is playing much better. I think they're on a 4-game win streak right now. But as far as trade talk goes for the Rangers, I think it's going to center around the ability to upgrade catcher. And wherever they can upgrade the offense, I think they're going to be looking for a right-handed and a left-handed bat. Depending on which catcher they bring in, if he's right-handed, then they'll look for a lefty bat. If he's the opposite, then they'll do the vice versa there. Something to kind of keep an eye on there is the offense. The last thing the Rangers, I think, will try to acquire is more of a dominant level closer. We're talking, somebody who converts 34 out of 35 saves, somewhere in that category of level closer. I think there are a couple of options out there. Bednar's had a nice rebound from his start to the year, and I think he could be a nice target for some teams, but we shall see. A lot of talk around Paul Skeens. I don't think he's going anywhere as well. All right, Brennan, those two pitchers don't move the needle for me, though. They are very good this year and much more pitcher-friendly ballpark in Oracle Park. True, but we did see Jordan Hicks have success before that as well. Harrison really hasn't quite lived up to the prospect status for me. I do think he is going to get another lease on life there in Boston. Not that he needs it yet. He's still very young to where he can still have that future success there. Welcome in, Sarah. Appreciate you joining us once again. Giants fleeced the Red Sox. I don't know about fleeced. I think it's a fairly decent trade here. I like that the Red Sox are getting major league talent back while replenishing their farm system from the Crochet deal. They're saving all kinds of money in Devers. Those are the pros on the field, in the minor leagues, and financially for the Red Sox. Now in the clubhouse, you don't have the headache anymore to deal with Raphael Devers, the media questions, the Alex Cora stuff, all those kinds of things. Those issues are now gone. But as far as the Giants, they're getting probably the best offensive piece that's going to be traded here at the deadline. There are a couple of pieces I'm keeping an eye on to see if their names start to crop up here in rumors. But I don't think anybody had this one on their bingo card at this moment. Before the season, sure, I thought there was an outside chance of it, even in the early parts of the season. We discussed ideas that involved Raphael Devers saving the money, all those kinds of things. And lo and behold, a couple of months later, we get the deal, Devers to the Giants. Will you still be doing the MLB Power Rankings? Yes, we'll be getting back into that. That will start on Wednesday this week. We'll be doing that. There's going to be a lot of changes from the last time we did it. This was while we still thought the Rangers had a good offense going into the year. And obviously things have changed, and honestly, they're starting to improve now for the Rangers. So they will still be falling in the rankings from where we left off with them. Mr. Freeman, if you don't re-sign Tucker, I'll riot with you. I mean, they really should re-sign Kyle Tucker. I mean, he's been a godsend for them. Same thing for Bregman and the Red Sox. Heel, Giants lineup now, Bailey, Adames, Chapman, Flores, Fitzgerald, Koss, Schmidt, Smith, Lee, Ramos, Yaz, Encarnacion. I'm worried about the defensive alignment there in San Francisco because they already have an all-star third baseman. I think it's easier to move off of him, though, at third base, even with the all-star designation, gold glove designation as well. Devers' defensive issues there, I think they'll be able to live with those. As long as they're able to keep that star player happy, I think they'll be happy to live with it. If their defense struggles too much and it's really costing them game after game after game, then they might revisit the issue. But I think the goal right now is try to make their new superstar happy, make him comfortable, and maybe they move over Chapman somewhere else. Let's see here. Counting some platoon bats. True. Come on, y'all. We know the Red Sox big three is going to be Anthony Campbell and their third young guy, Mayer. I mean, Abreu I really like. Duran I really like for that Red Sox ball club. Bregman I love for that club as well. Wong's a nice catcher behind the plate. They've got a nice young nucleus there, and they also have some good veterans sprinkled in. And now they're going to have money to go out there in free agency and try to add another bat to replace Raphael Devers in this lineup as well. How about that Bain trader earlier? Good Lord, absolutely. If you guys weren't paying attention earlier today, we got another out of nowhere trade. There were two, blockbuster trades today. The first one, as you see at the bottom of the screen there, Devers traded to the Giants. It was the Major League Baseball one. And then in the NBA, we got a Desmond Bain trade to the Orlando Magic. Now, you're probably asking me, Michael, why are you bringing up Desmond Bain? I've never really talked to or heard you talk about this player before. Why are you talking about the Memphis Grizzlies or the Orlando Magic? Well, because 4 first-round picks and a pick swap, by the way, those picks were unprotected, are going to Memphis in this deal. Bain is a max player, a great three-point shooter, still plays some high-quality defense as well, and he's going to fit exactly what the Orlando Magic need. However, this empties the cupboard as far as picks that they really might have some significant value on there in Orlando. And for Memphis, this is kind of an offer that you probably weren't looking for, but if somebody offers you this type of a package for your third leading scorer, you accept this deal automatically. Now they have a runway here to where they can decide what they're going to do with John Morant going forward. Do they want to parcel some of these pieces that they just got in this deal to try to bring in a Kevin Durant? That's been out there before as well. What do they do with Jaren Jackson Jr.? Does he become available now? They have all kinds of new possibilities out there in Memphis with this trade, saving them all kinds of money, giving them all kinds of picks and flexibility going into the future. But yeah, that was kind of an out-of-nowhere crazy deal. Looking forward to the Kevin Durant deal expected sometime this week as well across the NBA. Let's see here. Forgot Devers, main trade. People saw the Mariners in first and fell for the trap again. That is very true, Heel. The Mariners got off to a nice start here, but again, I just don't trust that offense to continue to perform at the level it's been doing so far. There will be regression to the mean. Just like the Rangers got off to such a poor start, I'm expecting them to play a little bit better. I'm not expecting them to necessarily be all-stars here in the next week or two. But I am saying that some teams have overperformed offensively that kind of has elevated their position in the standings higher than where they really should be with the talent that they have on the ball club. Something to kind of keep an eye on there. Now the pitching, I still think has been, is going to be their focal point of this ball club, and we'll have to see if it's enough to be able to help them win in October. No, don't talk about Heim like that, man. Well, I mean, I'm just done with the nonchalance, I guess. He's if I'm picking a player that reminds me most of Robinson Cano in Major League Baseball, it's Jonah Heim, and it's not close. I know that's hurtful to a lot of Jonah Heim fans. It's hurtful to me as a Jonah Heim fan myself. But I mean the nonchalance with which he plays. He's a nice guy, absolutely. He's a good receiving catcher behind the plate. Frames up very well. He's Bruce Bochy's right-hand man when it comes to catching and calling a game. Absolutely invaluable tools. But I think Higashioka brings the same types of things to the table here. And he's better offensively. And the issues that we're seeing with Jonah Heim are just issues I think that are going to continue to spiral and be an issue for him. I don't see him coming out of this and being the all-star level catcher we saw a couple of years ago. So why not capitalize and save the money more than anything else next year and give yourself an opportunity to spend more in free agency next year, or even if you wanted to go out there and make your own Raphael Devers type of move right now, that would be a possibility for them to try to do so. All right, let's see here. Martin Maldonado offense has been consistent, so where are you at, haters? I'll put it this way. Maldonado has not been a great offensive piece for a while now. So you can understand why there's going to be a fair amount of people reticent to support the resurgence. I'll put it that way. Brendan Lee, yeah, but now you have a huge problem with the fan base and ticket sales. For the Red Sox, I don't think you necessarily have that issue. I think the Red Sox faithful already knew the writing was on the wall for Rafael Devers going into the offseason. When he had the comments that he had to say about them even pursuing a third baseman. Bregman coming in and lighting things up really helped to win him over in their eyes. Not to mention the fact that the front office there. He was the one guy that they really decided to give money to in free agency. We'll have to see what that means for his future, though, in a Red Sox uniform. As far as the young talent that they have coming, I think just like for the Dallas Mavericks in the NBA, Cooper Flagg is going to bring in so many eyeballs for the Dallas Mavericks. Their ticket sales jumped whenever the lottery results were announced as a result of them possibly bringing in Cooper Flagg. And I think the Red Sox have a very good young core coming that's going to keep people coming to the stadium, and it's the Boston Red Sox. They're a legacy franchise at this point. They're always going to draw very, very well. Red Sox fans, all of my friends are, and I'm Jays fans, are enraged. Red Sox Twitter is burning right now. Well, I'll put it this way. He is their best offensive player, healthy, in the lineup. I get the out-of-nowhere nature of this causing them to have that type of reaction. But look at it from the base, what you're getting on the field. Devers is really one of the key pieces in your offense right now, one of the consistent pieces that you're counting on right now. Does that mean you're going to replace him with another Devers-level bat in there after this trade? No. Does it mean that you open up at bats for other players to make this lineup? Absolutely. DH spot is now open for one of those outfielders to play there and be able to continue to get at bats. It's not like they're going to be putting in some schlub in his spot. And until Bregman gets back, I think they're going to have to piece things together there at third base. For now, though, I think that the writing was on the wall after we saw the comments that he had to say at the beginning of the year to Alex Cora and to the media, calling his own press conference in spring training. Alex Cora not having too much to say in the kind way after such a thing was done by his star DH now, former DH at this point. But we'll have to see what this does for Devers in his future there in San Francisco. Trade is done, and we'll have to see how big of an impact Devers ultimately has. Twins have had a nice surprise. Will they be sellers at the deadline? Well, their pitching has just gone nuclear. Two pitchers went out due to injury. Ober looks like he's going to be the third pitcher headed towards the IL. Looks like his velocity's down. Looks like he might have some type of big issue that we don't know about yet, as his velocity's been down each of his last 3 starts. I would not be surprised if we find out in a few weeks that, hey, by the way, Ober's going to need Tommy John, and then, what are you left with in that rotation? You're left with what? Simeons, Woods, Richardson? That's not enough to get it done. I'm sorry. The Twins are going to fall back here a little bit, and I would expect teams like the Royals and others to kind of pass them by as the year goes along. Brennan, Jays trade for Marquez to replace Bowden at the deadline. The Jays to make any type of a trade this year, I think would have hinged upon the ability to re-sign Vladdy Guerrero Jr. or not. They got that deal done. Bringing in Max Scherzer, reinvigorates the team a little bit to force them to push the needle forward. But Scherzer's had his issues staying healthy so far this year, much like he did last year in Texas. And while I think the Jays are a nice club, let's go ahead and look at the standings here just to kind of give context for what we're talking about. Blue Jays, as it stands right now, are a game and a half up on the wild card. They're losers of 3 straight, 6-4 in their last 10, though. They got Arizona coming up here. They're 5 games above 500. Let's look at the teams behind them. Twins are falling and falling fast. Not worried about them. Red Sox just traded away their best player, Raphael Devers, offensively, but their pitching staff looks much better. I would expect them to be in this same contention window after the Yankees have gotten out to a nice start that they've done. For the Mariners, the offense has started to kind of regress here. Look at the run differential here for them. They're at a -2 right now. They're 2 games above 500. This is a 500 ball club, and that's why I expected the offense to kind of come back to the earth here a little bit, and it has. How much further will it go? Hard to say. I do think that they're a better offensive team than they were last year, but where does that ultimately make them fall in the standings? Rangers, they got up to 500 today. They're winners of 4 straight, 7-3 in their last 10, and they have a cakewalk of a schedule coming up over the next few weeks. Expect them to try to gain ground in the division, possibly even catch the Astros for the division here within the next month or so. We shall see if they can get the job done, but they got a very light schedule coming up that they should be able to take advantage of it. Thankfully for them, the White Sox allowed them to sweep the series there, even though their offense didn't quite show up in the series the way it had against Minnesota in the days prior, but enough to get the job done there. For the Guardians, they're at 500 as well, 35 and 35. They're a good ball club, not a great ball club. We expected them to push their chips a little bit more to the center of the table. This offseason, ultimately, they decided to kind of do what they've always done: trade away Josh Naylor, get future assets, sign a player to replace Naylor with his very comparable production. And we'll have to see if this strategy continues for the Guardians. But I just don't think it's I don't think it's a great method to try to win a World Series. I think it's a great way to get yourself into part of the playoff shares and try to win some extra money by having home games in the playoffs to kind of help out your owner financially. But if you're trying to win a World Series, at some point you got to push your chips to the center here, and I think the Guardians might have had that opportunity pass them by. What are the D-backs going to do at the deadline? Season looks very up and down right now. Couldn't agree with you more. But with Corbin Burns going down due to injury and a couple of their starters not looking great to be in the year here, I think there is a pathway for them to try to sell here at the deadline and just recoup what they can for the pieces that are going to be expiring. Something to kind of keep an eye on there as well. If they decide to buy at the deadline, that's going to mean the pitching staff has kind of held things together. That's the only way I see that happening for them. Rafe, Rangers took BTA against the Twins, although 16 runs in a game twice in a series is crazy work. True. Brandon Lee, by the way, the Red Sox just assigned Kyle Harrison to AAA. Not surprising. I expected Jordan Hicks to make this Major League club going in. We knew Harrison had his struggles out there in San Francisco. He's still seen as a very nice prospect offensive or on the pitching side, but we'll have to see how things work out the rest of the way. All right, let's go ahead and update our MLB trade rumors, just see if anything else has gone crazy or fallout from this deal. Doesn't look like it. But a lot of injuries. We're in the month of June, so expect to see a lot of pitching injuries here over the next couple of months, unfortunately. We are to that time of year where you're going to see them pretty much drop like flies all summer long. You just got to hope that some of these guys are able to avoid the long-term type of injuries as well. The Yankees win. Nice. Appreciate you joining us, 99 over 22. Appreciate you. Thank you guys for joining us today. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe. If you are new here, we're getting back into the swing of things. It's our first live we've done in a little over a month now, so very excited to be back, healthy with you guys. Had another bout of a pneumonia, about at the beginning of the hiatus that I took, and that knocked me out for a little while. Changes and so forth, career, everything, starting to kind of settle down, so we're going to get back into this. The card business I started up end of last year anyway. We're starting to get that rolling a little bit better, and now trying to get back into our lives that we do every single night to update you guys on Major League Baseball. Talk a little bit of other sports as well, so be sure to hit that like, subscribe, follow us on X at UpsideSN, and on Facebook, Upside Sports Network as well. What are the Royals going to do, man? Looks rough right now, especially with Dragons going on the IL. Offense has still been the bugaboo for them. I think they hope for better offensively with the pieces that they brought in. Are they necessarily Aaron Judge level pieces? No, but I thought they were nice pieces that would have helped them with the style of play that they like to do. Unfortunately, hasn't really done much for them, honestly. There are ways for them to try to improve here, but I'm not sure if they need to add here at the deadline. I think they should be a team that should be looking to be opportunistic more than anything else at the deadline and try to win with what they've got in-house if no opportunity pops up. Not only is he out of the AL East, he gets to be a Dodger killer. This is good for the Yankees. Couldn't agree with you there more, 99. As far as the Yankees side of this thing, if you're looking at it from a Yankees fan perspective, absolutely, Devers going to the National League is going to do nothing but help you out on the pitching side of things. Offensively, Yankees have played significantly better than I think anybody expected them to. I still think there are holes on this Yankees team, independent of what the Red Sox or any other team would have been able to bring to them. I think Luke Weaver is a good option for them in their bullpen. Devin Williams, I thought, had some shaky outings towards the end of last year and in the postseason. I questioned the trade at the time as to how good that bullpen was going to be. I thought they needed to go out there and add another eighth-inning guy, somebody who could be a nice setup guy for you. If you have issues in that bullpen, A games versus B games, all those kinds of things. Say you're up by 8 runs, you want to save your bullpen a little bit, but you get into a jam with 2 outs in the ninth, who are you going to bring in? You're going to bring in somebody who's not prepared for that type of situation. You're going to bring in somebody who's been there, done that, without having to burn your number one closing unit. I thought that would be one way the Yankees could go to try to address the issues that they have in their bullpen. Would not be surprised if they try to do it at this point as well. But I appreciate you guys joining us. Wanted to touch on a couple of more things before we head out for the evening. Kind of try to end this one right around the hour mark. Anyway, we will be live again tomorrow, so be sure to join us around 9 o'clock for that live. On Tuesday, I'm going to be getting out of work a little earlier. And so with that being said, we're going to try to do an earlier live and try to talk a little bit, not just about baseball, but about the sports world in general. Touch a little bit on Aaron Rodgers going to Pittsburgh, as much as I'm sure every single one of you loves hearing about an Aaron Rodgers topic. I know I'm sick of it, seeing it on the on the ESPN broadcast and all those other platforms. But we'll at least touch on it. We're not going to dwell on it all day long, but it is an opportunity for the Pittsburgh Steelers to try to capture one last good season from Aaron Rodgers. Meanwhile, in the NBA, Mavericks fans really don't know what to feel after trading away their star player, their franchise savior in Luka Doncic. Was reminded again watching a TikTok video last night how emotional his return to Dallas really was. Had me in tears watching the same thing I've watched already 5, 6, 7, 800 times at this point, it feels like. And it still brings me to tears watching him watch the celebration video for him on the monitor. Now you get Cooper Flagg. Looks like he's coming to Dallas in the draft. Do you go all in on a rebuild situation, try to build as many future assets around Flagg as possible, and allow him to take the reins as the team's best player and allow him to grow from there? Or do you try to continue this championship window here, as Nico Harrison says, that he's thinking about things in a 3-year window, doesn't give a dang about anything after that? And you can clearly see that in the way he approaches being a general manager. Meanwhile, in the NHL, the Stars got bounced rather unceremoniously by the Edmonton Oilers. Oilers right now are on the brink of elimination themselves in the Stanley Cup Final. Florida Panthers have played really well. Brad Marchand looks like a new player, and very curious to see where he goes in the offseason. But he's just one victory away from another Stanley Cup Final victory for him. So should be a good game as well. Indiana and OKC are tied 2 games apiece in the NBA Finals. Their series about to wrap up here this week. And then we get into draft talk. Then we get into free agency for the NBA. We get into free agency for the NHL. Trade talk on the NHL side of things. Jason Robertson's name is out there. Mitch Marner's name is a possibility, of course, for UFA on July 1st. But of course, his rights could be traded before then if they wanted to try to negotiate a deal within that exclusive window before he actually hits free agency. Say if a team like Carolina wanted to just have that exclusive negotiating window where only they were the suitor until they get to July 1. Those are all big things coming up here in just the next couple of weeks. Cooper Flagg is going to work out for the Dallas Mavericks this week. All kinds of stories across Major League Baseball. We'll touch on those on Tuesday. So be sure to join us for Upside Sports Talk on Tuesday evening. Let's see, almost halfway through the season, shaking my head. Couldn't agree with you more. The season has really flown by. We all started the season expecting offense to really rebound, and it really hasn't so far in Major League Baseball. Offense for a few teams looks pretty decent, but I'd say by and large, offense to me just doesn't look the same anymore like it even did last year or the year before. I think teams are far too inclined to, I don't want to say go after launch angle, home runs, the 3 true outcomes thing, because I don't think they're necessarily worried about the outcome themselves. I think they're worried about the process of it, and I don't agree with the process they're going with. So, for instance, the Rangers, I don't like how they are always worried about getting their A swing off. Tell me, when's the last time you heard of any all-time great hitter talking about their A swing and how important it was to get their A swing off on any pitch? Was it important to get their best swing off, their A swing on a pitch? Sure. But was it their number one goal when they were going up there to play, or at the plate? No. They were worried about either A, putting the ball in play, they were worried about hitting it over the fence, they were worried about driving in a runner, sacrifice fly, sacrifice bunt. They had other things on their mind rather than, did I get my full extension? Did I get my barrel around in time? Was I short and quick to the ball, or was my swing long and elongated? I think those are things that are all in the heads of hitters now. And while they all serve a place, each one individually, you want to keep yourself short and quick through the zone. For instance, I think Josh Young could really benefit from some of those basic lessons anyway of swinging a bat. I think you'd really, how do I put this? Unscrew his swing because it's been bad. I mean, that jackknife swing just looks ugly, and I would love to see him solve it. Great guy, really professional player. Unfortunate injury history, but he needs to start performing if the Rangers are going to not try to bring in another third baseman here next off season, much like the Red Sox decided to upgrade with bringing in an Alex Bregman as well. Rafe, I'm the one person in America who doesn't get mad about hearing talk about Rogers. You'd probably be one of very few. There's so many people that actually click on that stuff, though. I remember when I just did the short little video about Aaron Rodgers, just dumb story after dumb story about a year ago when I was posting those on my shorts anyway. And those were some of my most watched videos because it had Aaron Rodgers in the title. Just crazy to me, the interest in a quarterback that is completely washed. Can he still perform and be a decent, stats guy for the quarterback position? Absolutely. Does he impact winning for you in a positive way? Not a chance. I think those days are gone for Aaron Rodgers. Masai Ujiri about to pull off a Kawhi trade again. We shall see if he does it for KD, but I'm curious to see if Ujiri ultimately ends up going somewhere else to help their front office. There has been some talk once again about him leaving Toronto. We'll see if they follow up there. Rafe, Rockets fans are really stressed about them trading for KD. Let me know. They don't want to give up who they're rumored to have to for an old and expensive KD. I would agree. I would be looking for somebody else. I wouldn't even be looking at Giannis. I'd be looking for younger talent. I'd be looking at a guy like Devin Booker. I'd be looking at a guy like Jaren Jackson Jr. I would have been looking for a guy like Desmond Bane or Luka Doncic. The last couple of big trades we've seen. Unfortunately, they haven't been able to do it, and I doubt Dallas would have traded Luka there anyway, even if they had given up every single possible thing the Mavericks could have wanted from them. But I think there is an opportunity for the Rockets to get better, but they need a number one on that team more than anything else. Master Vinman, a lot of these issues with umpires this season, will we see it changed with automation next season? They're definitely bringing in the ABS system next year. That is fact. That is happening. It sounds like there will be a challenge system to this, which I am absolutely against, but I guess to kind of get people to go along with it in the beginning here, I think that's what the purpose of this is. They don't want to freak out all the old heads in the game. Get over yourselves, old heads. I mean, at a certain point, yes, there's still a human element to the game. It's called the players on the field, not the umpire behind the plate and his strike zone, whether it's a foot and a half outside, yet it's called a strike. Whether it's right down the middle and he acts like he blinked in the middle and missed the strike call. So, oops, instead of it being a strikeout there, ending the inning, instead it's a bases loaded walk that scores a run, and now your pitcher has to start and new batter, and so exhaust more pitches, all those kinds of things. And we'll see if they can solve some of those umpiring issues. We saw an ejection in the first inning of the White Sox Rangers game. We saw an ejection in the ninth inning last night in the Rangers White Sox game, and there's so many bad umpires out there. What's his name? I can see his face. Buckner is one of them. The guy calling it balls and strikes tonight was pretty bad for the Rangers and White Sox. There's a few of them out there that are still really bad. Laz Diaz is another one that needs to go bye-bye. But I think that those guys do a great job. They're great umpires. I think just calling balls and strikes has gotten too difficult for them with all the movement and spin on these pitches. It's a hard thing to do. And so at a certain point, if you have the technology to get this thing right, what are we doing screwing around and arguing balls and strikes and costing major league players and major league managers their ability to stay in the game because of a blown call or a perceived blown call? At a certain point, let's just grow up and realize that yes, you're still going to have a great game of baseball, whether or not an umpire is behind the plate going strike one because of the way he sees it, or whether the technology shows us whether it was actually a strike or not. Let's get over ourselves. Let's calm down those egos and let's move forward. Besides, it's not the players, it's not the egos of the umpires we should be worrying about at all. It's the play on the field. It's the players on the field that matter. Umpires are there to arbitrate the game and make sure the rules are enforced fairly for both sides. And they're there to perform a duty. Absolutely. They get paid for that. They're paid very well. And I would like to see them start to take that ball strike conversation less personally for them and just realize that, hey, while you're still going to have a job there, yes, you're going to have less responsibility on the ball strike side of things, but you're going to be able to focus on the rest of your job a lot better. It's not like because they take away balls and strikes from the home plate umpire that they're going to go, hey, we don't really need 4 umpires for every game in the regular season. Let's go ahead and just go with a home plate umpire to be able to relay balls and strikes. Let's go ahead and have a first base umpire to check for check swings, and a third base umpire. And if there needs to be say there's a runner out there on second base, maybe move the guy behind home plate, since he doesn't have to be there to call balls and strikes anymore, out behind home plate and let him call things over there at second base. Nobody's saying that we're taking away umpires on the field. It just means that they're going to have less to worry about on the field from a ball strike perspective, managing the umpires and players getting angry about their ball and strike decisions. That's going to be all about the technology. You can get mad at the technology all you want, but you're not going to come out here and argue balls and strikes anymore, because that's dumb. At a certain point, you just have to do what's best for your teams, and to see Bryce Harper or other big time players ejected for things like this gets a little ridiculous after a certain point. All right, let's try to catch up on the last couple of comments here. I heard a lot of talk about Ball to Dallas. I've heard that as well. I've also heard Kobe White. There's a couple of big trades that I'm wondering if Dallas feels the inclination to take. I think with Jason Kidd staying there in Dallas, I think that means that Kyrie Irving will definitely be staying. I do think he'll opt out of his deal and try to get a long-term contract signed. I'm not sure how long this is going to stay together, though, as currently constructed. I think P.J. Washington's a very nice player. He's probably going to get in the neighborhood of a $23 million average annual value contract anyway, maybe over 4 years, 23 per. I would love to see the Mavericks trade him away if he gets to that point, go after more of a proven scorer at that point. I think that the Mavericks have plenty of size that they can afford to lose a little bit. If they decide to trade a Daniel Gafford, then they keep P.J. Washington and bring in another piece to kind of give them some spell there at behind the behind the number 1 center there behind Derek Lively. So we'll see what happens there. Heel, Aaron Savali requests a trade to the White Sox. Thinks I can request a trade again. This wasn't what I was thinking. We'll see. I do think Savali is more looking to rehab his value and stay relevant for the free agent season. I think the fact that he requested a trade was very chilling to that clubhouse, because I think you saw how quickly management said, okay, you want to make a trade? We'll take you from a team that's contending for a division crown. We'll trade you to a bottom dweller in a division. So next player who wants to ask for a trade, just be wary of where we might send you in that trade. Let's see here. Brendan, Roki about to be shut down for the rest of the season. I swear, this is the way I'm reading, the way it's trending right now. That's kind of what we're seeing here. We saw a bunch of pitchers go down already. Several players have gone down due to injury on the pitching side, and just got to, it's that war of attrition. Rangers are getting a little bit healthier on the pitching side with a couple of guys, yet they're still having Eovaldi, who was not expected to miss a start, maybe just pushed back a little bit. He's now not only missed a couple of starts, but been put on the injured list, and we're not sure when he will be back. It sounds like he threw a bullpen just the other day to see how things were rehabbing, and it doesn't sound like he's ready to come back yet, but it could be any day at this point. Meanwhile, Molly has been a godsend for the Rangers, probably a top 5, top 10 pitcher in the American League. Should be on the American League All-Star team as a pitcher this year for the Texas Rangers. Eovaldi could be in that mix. DeGrom could be in that mix as well. Patrick Corbin's been great for the Rangers this year. Not necessarily an All-Star level pitcher, but he's got around a 3 ERA, 3 and change ERA, I should say. The one thing I think Bruce Bochy needs to stop doing is letting him go out there and pitch at all to the 3rd time through the order. That should not be happening. He's dominant the first 2 times through, and then he basically runs out of gas at that point. He's an older pitcher. He's in the top 5, top 10 in strikeouts among active players all time. He's a good pitcher this year, and has been a really nice renaissance year for him. But at a certain point, you got to protect your player from himself, and I think the writing is on the wall. Corbin is about a 2 times through the order type of a guy as well. We saw him throwing a bullpen session during the game today because of the state of the bullpen there for Texas. They could have used his bullpen innings in the game today if need be. But that's why they had him hold off until his bullpen session later in the day to see if they would need him out of that bullpen, and thankfully they did not. Sox said they are planning on flipping him at the deadline if things turn around his season. Absolutely. Why would they want to keep Aaron Savali? He's got basically no future with that White Sox club. Same things go with a lot of the more veteran players on this ball club. Mike Tauchman, I mean, he's a good veteran player, low-cost player. I could see that going either way for them, but I think he'd be a nice addition for somebody offensively at the deadline. All right, appreciate you guys joining us. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe if you haven't already. We'll be live again tomorrow. around 9 o'clock. So be sure to hit that like and subscribe. Thank you guys so much for joining us once again. We're going to get back into the swing of things. A lot of changes have happened on YouTube, so I got to do a little bit of research. But I saw the trades happen today, and I was like, nope, we're getting back into this YouTube thing right now. Health is getting better. Job sorting itself out. Card business is getting going. Things are going well, and it's time to start focusing back on Major League Baseball, especially with the big trade starting to percolate. Getting a big one today. Hopefully we see a bunch more before we get to the trade deadline in about a month and a half. Appreciate you guys joining us. Thank you guys so much for spending some time with us after such a long hiatus. Really does mean a lot to me. Thank you for all your well wishes during our time off. I know several of you guys reached out through our Facebook channel anyway and messaged us there, DM'd us. I really do appreciate you guys with all the well wishes as well. Rafe, Giants keep selling. I'll put it this way. The Giants are going to be a very good team next year. I'm just not sure which direction they're going to go this year. They could buy a little bit more. They could decide to sell a couple of pieces. This could be a long-term play for them for Devers and just trying to get him in the clubhouse right now, get him comfortable, have another player there to try to lure in another outside top-end free agent talent this offseason. Buster Posey is cooking out there in San Francisco. All right, y'all have a great one. We'll be back live with you guys around 9 o'clock tomorrow. Stay safe, everybody.